Only 2 games left in the marathon, so we're gonna take it to the skies now with Talespin. I used to borrow this game a long time ago from my cousins during the early 90s, and I failed miserably at it a lot of times until I finally got the hang of it. It was also another Disney show that I've grown up watching, but unlike DuckTales and Chip and Dale, I never really saw the series finale, and I'm not sure if there's any DVDs of the show. But like any other show in the afternoon block, I enjoyed it nonetheless. Most of what I reviewed in this marathon so far are platformers, but Talespin took a completely different direction. So, does Talespin still have what it takes to fly, or will it come crashing down? This is my review of Talespin. Talespin aired in May 5th, 1990 and is set in the fictional town of Cape Suzette, a play on the food Crepe Suzette, and it's also one of the 3 Disney towns that were mentioned in the first episode of the DuckTales reboot, so there's a possibility of a Talespin revival. The show has characters adapted from the 1967 film The Jungle Book, in this case Baloo, the main protagonist of the show, the orangutan Louie, and Jungle Book's antagonist Shere Khan, who is also this show's villain. The premise is that Baloo pilots a cargo plane called the Sea Duck and works for a delivery service called Hire for Hire, run by his employer, Rebecca Cunningham, whose working relationship with Baloo is said to be inspired by characters Sam Malone and Rebecca Howe of the sitcom Cheers. Which I actually saw a few episodes of the show when it was still part of the Nick at Night block, and I could see why they're similar. 2 characters with contrasting ideals until they eventually have to trust each other. Aided by an orphan and former sky pirate named Kit Cloudkicker and the eccentric mechanic Wildcat, they set out to make a success of their establishment before Shere Khan, who is a corrupted business tycoon, sabotages Rebecca's business to the ground with the aid of his hired thugs, the Air Pirates, led by their captain, Don Carnage. Rather than a platformer, it is instead a side-scrolling shooter with some twists. Just like in the show, Baloo is tasked by Rebecca to make a successful delivery on the various locales instructed, and the game is linear in terms of stage progression. As the Sea Duck is never a combat plane to begin with in the show, the game has Baloo armed with just a gun that fires 1 shot at a time, and you start off with just only 3 HP. You also have a button that allows you to traverse back through the level, but only on horizontal scrolling areas. You're very much vulnerable, so you have to be careful on dodging enemies and landing your shots. You'll notice some cargo as well as money bags out in the open, and some items such as fruit for points, hearts for HP, and occasionally some money bags can appear when you shoot in certain locations. You don't need to collect every cargo or money to complete the game, but each time you complete a stage, you'll then be taken to Wildcat's garage, where you spend your cash in order to gain some upgrades, ranging from having 2 to 4 shots at a time, increasing your piloting speed, increase your maximum HP, earn some lives, or get some continues in case of a game over. But if you really need those upgrades, you gotta be sure that you get every cargo and every money bag in a stage before defeating the boss, which can be easier said than done, because the number of each item differs in each stage. And as mentioned, some money bags can only appear by shooting in thin air, but should you accidentally fire your shot and somehow off-screen it, even by just a pixel, you lose that money bag. When you successfully collect all the cargo and money bags in a stage, you'll also be rewarded with a perfect bonus, adding to your total cash, and it's very useful to get some upgrades right from the get-go. It's possible to play the game without any upgrades, but I wouldn't try it. In every stage, there will be some corners or spots that might look suspicious. You'll find yourself shooting at it, and lo and behold, you open up a bonus stage. Each stage has 2 variations of the bonus stage where you control Kit, sky surfing to pop balloons and get points from fruits, or get a toy airplane which grants you a 1-up. If you know where to fire your shots to find the bonus stages, then life shouldn't be too much of an issue. You go through 8 different stages, starting with the sea where you'll first encounter Don Carnage, and because you're bare bones, you can't damage him at all, and it's also a beginner stage to get used to the controls. The boss of stage 1 is a submarine that does a spread shot and fires missiles at your position. Its weak spot is the periscope and or part of its body if it surfaces lightly. Next is the baseball stadium where you have to take advantage of the rotation button to avoid having the stage itself flatten you easily, especially when upon death, it takes forever to transition yourself back into the stage. No matter how many times you're pressing that button, you have to wait for Baloo to be off screen. Also, in this first section, don't stay to the right as it will be a beginner's trap of you getting ambushed by the robot baseball. While in ball form, the robot baseball can deflect your shots until it exposes your cannons, and only then will you be able to damage it. Next, you're flying through a stormy weather. Keep an eye on where the enemies and missiles might show up, as they're taking advantage of the clouds for an ambush. You'll then encounter the twin pirates that are capable of spread-shotting you. You cannot damage them individually, and it's only when they perform a joint attack will it be possible to hurt them. The haunted house is my least favorite stage due to falling chandeliers, hats that charge at you, ghosts that split into tiny versions to irritate you further, and haunted hands that not only punch through walls, but also fire at you as well. Not only was I desperate for HP, but it's also one of those stages where I would often miss a money bag, losing my chance at a perfect. At the end of the stage, you encounter the ghost in which its weak point is the bow tie, and you gotta be accurate on your angle shots as the rest of its body parts are invincible. Downtown Cape Suzette is another simple stage to fly through, but again, just be careful on where you shoot as you don't want to miss any money bags if you want to get a chance on a perfect. The Wrecking Ball boss caught me off guard at first on what I'm supposed to do as a child, but then I realized that you could actually destroy the Wrecking Ball before you could do some angle shots on the driver. There's not much to say about the mines other than when you reach the boss, just stay in the position I'm at and just angle shot him, but by this point you already have all the upgrades that you needed. The jungle is not that bad of a stage either, but be warned that once you end up getting stuck underneath the clouds as the screen scrolls upwards, it's counted as getting flattened and you lose a life. As for the gator statue, just follow my techniques shown here and you'll win easily. Finally, Rebecca has had enough with Shere Khan getting in the way, so she is sending Baloo to deal with him and force his submission. The final stage is straightforward with no cargo or money to collect, just survive waves of enemies until Don Carnage shows up. Unlike previous bosses, Don Carnage has no after damage invincibility, so you can keep wailing on him and you'll be immediately taken to the skyship. The skyship has 6 rotor blades that you need to destroy and then the engine itself. Yes, there will be multiple ambushes, but even then, you would know when to counterattack, making this final match be as anticlimactic as the D-1000. Once that's done, Shere Khan withdraws for now, plotting his revenge, while it's back to regular business as usual for Hire, ending Talespin. Overall, some people say that this game is the weakest in the collection, and I can understand why, as it is a scrolling shooter as opposed to a platformer as many would expect. In terms of difficulty, some parts can be quite nasty, especially when enemies have the tendency to respawn when you're scrolling back. You do start off frail, yes, but as long as you know where the location of the items are, and then getting your first upgraded shot, then the rest of the game is alright. I will praise that the story is kept simple, the graphical presentation is just as wonderful and colorful like in DuckTales, and the music, while not too memorable, are well composed, with the mines and the regular boss fight being my favorites. My final score will be at least a 7. It may be the weakest of the collection, but it is by no means a terrible game. I played this game many times that I don't mind going back to it every once in a while, but for everyone else, I think for them, once is enough. Only one game left in the marathon, folks. And what better way to end it than Disney's iconic vigilante of justice, Darkwing Duck. Well, I hope you liked this video, folks. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as well as like and follow me on Facebook. Until then, this has been Musashi X, and I bid you all farewell, take care, and stay tuned for the marathon finale.